The word ultimate is thrown around a lot these days. It's usually meant to mean best, quintessential, the only one you'll ever need. However, the origins of the word comes from Latin. We take words like antepenultimate and penultimate, meaning third to last and second to last respectively. And of course, ultimate means final. But the two definitions can work together. The idea that you end on a high note, that you save the best for last, that the best is yet to come.
And so, between the tear-jerking release trailer for Metal Gear Solid 5 featuring some of the series' finest moments, and the news of a spectacular fallout between Konami and series creator Hideo Kojima, what we could well be seeing here is the final act in the Metal Gear series.
Which is strange because I swear we've been here before. The anticipation during the build up to Metal Gear Solid 4 was incredible. One last adventure for a cast of characters that you've grown to love that ties up all the plot lines and closes off this incredible saga. And Metal Gear Rising notwithstanding, MGS4 still remains the last chapter of the story chronologically. There is very little more you could do with a lot of the characters' story arcs. Why would you open the series back up after you've closed it so brilliantly? That's like making another Toy Story movie after Toy Story 3. Oh. So you can understand my skepticism towards Metal Gear Solid 5. It throws up a ton of questions from its mere existence. Why was this game made? Do Kojima or Konami need more money? Are there really that many holes in the series that need filling? The decision to base the game after the events of Snake Eater and Peace Walker fulfill the criteria of not messing with what Guns of Patriots laid to rest, but I don't know, I just wasn't convinced. But as your eyes slowly adjust to the new frightening world, you begin to realise something. This game is a fucking masterpiece. And to be fair to the Phantom Pain, the ingredients have been there for a while. Metal Gear having an open world, Big Boss going around imparting his revenge on whoever stands in his way, the game that really does complete the Metal Gear story, filling the gap just before the first Metal Gear game. And there is a notable step up from the last main series Metal Gear game in just about every area. And hey, we looked at MGS4 back in 2008 and were pretty impressed. Yet the big headline maker, the concept of Metal Gear having an open overworld, is the one aspect that really changes how you see and play this game.
The main focus of previous Metal Gear games was always the story, this intertwining tale of political agendas, military advancements, and how it all affects one, maybe two, super soldiers. The games had gameplay, but it was very clear that the story took centre stage.
And for how effective MGS4 was at being the final chapter in the series, it managed it by bombarding you with close to hour-long cutscenes. Don't get me wrong, the cutscenes are incredible, but this is a video game we're playing here. I don't think there should be too many moments where I have to find my controller again when the cutscene ends because I forgot where I put it. Thankfully, in a move that will undoubtedly bring people towards MGS5 rather than alienate them in a way that the cutscenes did in previous games, the focus is now firmly on gameplay. Not to say that the story is let down as a result, don't worry, we'll get to that later, but the gameplay and how it's handled is a huge departure from the Metal Gear norm. The corridors and closed off areas of the older games have been traded out for gigantic maps where everything is connected, and interestingly, everything matters. Early on in my experience of the Phantom Pain, I managed to mark some soldiers, more on that in a bit, only for them to scarper away from the area I was currently in. Not a problem, I thought, means there's less here for me to deal with right now. Then later on down the road as I was dealing with a small outpost, these same two soldiers dawdled into the general area and actually saw me, forcing me to reflex my way out of a tricky situation. The openness of the game's world makes everything a little trickier, but it's that satisfying sort of tricky where you can appreciate the attention to detail that brings about this challenge. Anyone who's played Far Cry 3 or 4 will instantly be at home with the Phantom Pain. As you ride up to the edge of an enemy-occupied village or outpost, you whip out your binoculars and scan the horizon for enemy positions, giving you enough information on their whereabouts so you can plan your approach and work your way through without causing problems for yourself. It's eerily similar to the camera in Far Cry 3 and 4, which did virtually the exact same thing. The difference here is the character casting. Gone are Jason Brody and Ajay Ghale, and in their place is the legendary hero Big Boss. And he knows a thing or two about subduing opponents. The stealth mechanics aren't that much different this time around. You can still interrogate enemies, though only when you get a translator on your team, and you still feel a huge sting of humiliation when you're spotted by the enemy and trigger an alert. especially now you've got all these tricks at your disposal, not even mentioning the new and improved cardboard box. But it is interesting how reflex mode is implemented in the game. In previous Metal Gear games, if you were spotted by the enemy, that was generally it. You've triggered an alert and have to fend off dozens of enemies, giving you just enough time to wonder if you really think you can go through this game without triggering an alert on the hardest difficulty. Clearly something had to be done, and so now if you're seen by a bad guy, the game slows down, gives you a cinematic camera angle, and offers you a chance to silence the guy who discovered you and prevent an alert. And hey, it definitely works. I actually completed some missions without getting an alert. My issue is that it's way too effective. I'll always try and keep to the shadows and at least attempt to be sneaky, but you can seriously get away with sprinting up to an enemy or a group of enemies and headshotting anyone who's seen you. For all the stealth mechanics, you can play this game very successfully as a third-person shooter, and at times it makes for some more exciting exchanges as you flee the scene with a prisoner draped around your neck and bullets whizzing past your head. And maybe that's the best takeaway from Metal Gear Solid 5's new gameplay. You can do whatever you want. The game will continually respect how you go about a task and will give you a wide variety of tools with which to do so. The Mother Base, which returns from Peace Walker but is actually a physical place you can walk around and bask in the respect you receive because you're Big Boss, and kind of a big deal, this place allows you to develop new weapons and items for yourself, and all of a sudden, you've got half a dozen different ways of going about the same mission. Non-lethal, lethal by using a vehicle with a strong focus on using one of your partners, or a combination of all of that. It lets you get the job done in the way that you see fit, however informed or otherwise your judgment is. Though you will be wanting to keep non-lethal takedowns as an option, due to the Fulton recovery system being outstanding. A little stupid at first, but when you're lifting shipping containers, armoured vehicles, and most importantly of all, sheep out of the battlefield for your own use, it soon becomes one of your most valuable tools for filling Mother Base with staff members and other goodies. When you develop an upgrade for your binoculars, you can scan the soldiers not just to tag them, but also to see how competent they are at particular areas like combat, research and development, medical staff, etc. And so you cruise around the battlefield, cherry-picking the best soldiers for your own private army. I've always wanted to do that.
Recovering soldiers for your own use and building up Mother Base are just some of the steps taken in order to make you feel attached to Big Boss. Nothing particularly emotional, but enough so that you care about what you're trying to achieve in the game, so that it sucks you in and then hits you with what the story has to offer.
And even though the scales have been tipped towards gameplay, the story still manages to keep up. It's not as complicated or elaborate as, like, Sons of Liberty or, holy shit, Guns of the Patriots, but it doesn't need to be. In super duper layman's terms, Snake, or Big Boss if you like, built up a private military company with Kazuhira Miller. This army got big enough that countries across the globe started getting worried, and so at the end of Ground Zeroes, the offshore oil rig where they were based and most of the people on it ended up in the ocean. An attack orchestrated by XOF who work for Cypher, but details. Snake and Miller have their helicopter blown up, causing Miller to lose an arm and a leg, and leaving Snake bedridden in a coma for 9 years. Fast forward to wake up time and Snake escapes the hospital in the Phantom Pain's prologue and meets Ocelot who helps him find Kaz. The three of them try and exact their revenge on Cypher by rebuilding their private army and renaming it Diamond Dogs. Oh, there's also this thing about Skullface, this brand of Inhuman soldiers, a kid cosplaying a Psycho Mantis, a man on fire, and a gigantic walking Metal Gear with a penis railgun. Like I said, layman's terms. Although with that said, I used every waking hour I wasn't using to make other videos playing this game, and I recorded 63 videos worth of footage for this review, and I still don't know the purpose of any of these things. I'd love to tell you if any of these have satisfying payouts, but this is the second review I've done on this channel. I don't qualify for early access, and my copy came a day late anyway. I'm not sure if this is something you could register as a complaint, but the story pacing in the Phantom Pain isn't bad, it's just a lot slower than in previous Metal Gear games. However, I'm positive that this has more to do with the gameplay taking centre stage, rather than the pacing being poor. It is possible to go through entire missions without triggering a cutscene, and I actually found myself pleasantly surprised when I did find one. It takes a little getting used to, but it's all for the best, and in about 20 hours of gameplay, I haven't encountered a long cutscene, apart from a couple in the prologue. That prologue, by the way, is bizarre, and one of the earliest examples you'll get of this game combining the usual Metal Gear lunacy with some darker overtones. I mean, sure, there have been some unnerving moments in some of the previous games, Psycho Mantis, The Sorrow, maybe Laughing Octopus, they all come to mind, but make no mistake, this is the darkest game in the series and by some distance. The story is all about Big Boss's revenge and no quarter is given anywhere. The Phantom Pain goes out of its way to earn its mature rating. And while all the other games were also marked as such, MGS5 deals with a lot more mature themes. Certainly not fun for all the family. Especially when we factor in Quiet, the sniper lady with barely any clothes on. I get that she breathes through her skin and so clothes suffocate her, but that honestly does feel like an excuse to give MGS5 some sex appeal. And hey, it's the 21st century. Take a trip to any website on the bottom half of the internet, and you'll see that if it isn't clickbait they're tempting you with, it'll be sex, or a combination of the two. Quite simply, whether you like it or not, sex sells. The good news though for any feminists rapidly sharpening their keyboard is that the Mother Base's combat department lets you swap out Snake for any other one of your staff members, including a woman if you found one on your journeys. Didn't see too many people mention that about this game when claiming the Phantom Pain to be a monolith of sexism in modern gaming. And since we're on the subject of Quiet, I should probably mention one of the most initially jarring parts of the game, Kiefer Sutherland. Personally, the decision to not bring back David Hayter to voice Snake in this game originally seemed like a horrendous misstep, and even more so when you replace him with Jack Bauer.
I'm thinking that he's tougher than he looks.
But only when you hear why does it all make sense. The facial capture technology that was used in this game was also used to pick up all the little movements when the voice actor delivers their lines, giving each bit of dialogue more emotion and more value than what's just being said. It would make sense that Kojima would go for an actor over a voice actor, so to pick up on more of the movement in Sutherland's face. That being said, he still does a good job at playing Snake, even though it does feel like he doesn't have a lot of lines in the game. You can't compare David Hayter's Snake to Kiefer Sutherland's because they feel so different and both achieve different goals. So with all that said, how did MGS5 feel? In a game that could well be the series' swan song, it's as good as I could have ever hoped for. Like I said, I haven't got anywhere near the end, so I don't really know how this all pans out story-wise, but from a gameplay perspective, it upholds the high standards of previous games and more. I used to say that Metal Gear Solid 3 was always the best place to start if you want to get into the series, and it still might be if you're more invested in the narrative. But the Phantom Pain will draw a lot more people in with its concentration on gameplay this time around. If you've played and enjoyed Far Cry 3 and 4, then this game will be a perfect fit for you, but with a much better story and customization options. The only crowd that may struggle with this game is steadfast Metal Gear purists due to the diluted story. Cutscenes are no longer the priority here, and you can't beat this game in 5 hours like you could in the other games if you skipped over the cutscenes. This game is more likely to last you upwards of 50 hours if you invest time in the side ops and build up Mother Base wherever possible. In a similar fashion to one of 2015's earlier big releases, Batman Arkham Knight, the franchise is potentially being closed out with a chance to become the famous character you've grown to love over the years. As maybe Metal Gear's final act, you can become and fully enjoy being Big Boss.
This has been Rabbidluigi, and we arrive at a crossroads now that Kojima's left Konami. Either we never get a Metal Gear game again because Konami's got the license, we do get a Metal Gear game, but it hasn't got Hideo Kojima at the helm, which is a terrifying thought, or maybe, just maybe, Kojima convinces Konami to let him take the IP away with him. I wouldn't put it past him. After all, Metal Gear Solid 5 and all other games in the series are a Hideo Kojima game.
Hang on, I never gave it a score, did I? Alright, I give Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain a pretty good out of 10. Go buy it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Haven't done too many reviews on this channel, but this is a pretty big game, so I felt nearly obliged to do so. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more reviews, make sure you leave a like, and if you've got any suggestions for other games you might like me to review, get to work in the comments section. And with a top 5 coming next and a poll in progress, my Twitter and Facebook are the places to go. They've always been the places to go.
I feel your sadness, I feel your pain.